This is Python's Paradise. This is your host, Greg Gilbert, aka the Python Hyena, straight out of Fredericton, New Brunswick, Canada. And folks, here we are, November the 15th, 2022. And come Friday, 3 days away, I will have a new laptop. I'm kind of going temporary here because my old one conked out while I was in Toronto for Frightmare in the Falls. But I'm making do here, do interviewing the guests I had scheduled, and until I get my new setup all ready. But I have a return guest, somebody who's been a really, really good friend to me, and really has had my back as well. Um, Unsuspectedly, I come to find out, and we're both part of 13 Fanboy. Both were part of Reunion from Hell, and he's got a movie that we're going to be talking about here primarily here at the start called Camp Pleasant Lake. Folks, I give you Orlando Rodriguez. How do you do, Orlando?
Hey, how you doing, Greg? Good to see you again.
Yeah, it's nice to see you too.
Thank you.
It's always great to keep in touch with you, and I loved it when you approached me about promoting Camp Pleasant Lake, and I looked that up, and I'm like, it's got a good cast.
Yeah,
Aside
it,
to that,
it
Bonnie Aarons and whatnot,
yeah, yeah,
Michael
Bonnie
Perry,
Aarons, let's see here. Bonnie Aarons, Mike Ferguson, Jonathan Lipnicki. It has what's his name? From Streets of Fire and
Michael Perry.
Michael Pere.
Yeah, a
Yes.
Perry. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, Michael Pere. How can I forget? So and it has a large cast. And we filmed out in Acton, California. We just finished in it went into post-production on September 10th, and it comes out next year in 2023.
Okay. I remember you first mentioning this to me. Talk about this film. What's the plot? Well, actually, let's go back a little bit. How did you get involved with it? And then talk about what the film is about.
So director Tom Walton, he reached out to me to see about auditioning for one of the roles in the movie, the role of Hector, uh, which I said I would go ahead and audition for, and I went out to California. I did audition for it, and I got the part. And when we filmed out in California, I was out there for like about, I want to say 10 days in Acton, California. It was during that brief period where it was like about 115 degrees out there, and they had the fires out there in the mountains of California.
I've heard
So
about that.
it was really hot. It was really but you know what? We did the filming, and that was the important thing.
Okay. So what's this film about?
So Camp Pleasant Lake, it basically there's a husband and wife. Their names are the Rutherfords, and they want to go ahead and open up a horror amusement park on the site of uh, Camp Pleasant Lake. Uh, about 20 years before, Echo, a little girl, was went missing, and her parents were murdered. So now, what the Rutherfords want to go ahead and do is basically do like a recreation of the events of what happened in Camp Pleasant Lake. What happened, and then part of the plot is that um, both campers and counselors start disappearing, and the thing is, we don't know whether this is part of the of the whole setup, or if the murders are real. So so basically, that's what it's about.
Okay. So, do I dare ask if your character is killed off, or is that giving away too much?
that's giving away too much.
Okay, I will dive into that though. Well,
Yeah,
what did you see get to witness any of the makeup effects or gore effects or
I did a lot of great makeup effects. Uh, you're gonna go ahead and see a lot of even in the trailer. I don't know if you've seen the trailer
I
for it.
did.
You do see some of the people who are killed off in the trailer. So the blood was really good when it ran, basically, and the kills were really good. So this movie, it's basically, in my own opinion, it's Friday the 13th meets Sleepaway Camp meets um, I Know What You Did Last Summer meets Scream, basically.
Okay.
That's what it was to me, and it was a really good experience. Um, I always like to tell people that the movie, Friday the 13th was a campy movie for a horror movie. It was campy. So was Friday the 13th Part Two and Sleepaway Camp, but campy is good. Campy is fun, because that makes the kills even better when people are slaughtered off. Oh, my lights almost went out. But yeah. So the movie has a little bit of camp, but it has a lot of horror, and it doesn't skimp on that. And I'm sure that it's basically going to be the next evolution in horror.
Okay. Your character Hector, what can you tell us about him?
So Hector, what I can tell you is that um, he's a nice guy. Um, how can I put it? Yeah, nice guy, friendly, outgoing. But something troubles him, and eventually it will be discovered why he's a little bit like troubled by something.
Okay.
So, but he's he's one of the camp counselors. He's and he's very welcoming to to the campers who arrive at Camp Echo, which that's the new name for Camp Pleasant Lake.
Okay. Well, it sounds to me kind of like there's a Friday the 13th vibe, and this Camp Pleasant Lake would be like Crystal Lake, and Echo is like, well, you could say it's a 5 year later thing or the Camp Forest Green thing, you know? I see
Correct.
a little bit of a vibe there.
Yeah.
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 But
So
yeah.
it was great. I mean, besides like the bees, and there were bees all over the place, including on the ground, ant hills and stuff like that. And sometimes we had to, walk over these ant hills, or like have to deal with the bees wherever they were at. But it was a great experience. I really loved it, and I felt a big camaraderie with both the cast and crew. Everybody got along so well, and on the other sets of the other movies that I was on, I really didn't experience that with the other two movies that I've been in.
I was going to ask you that and compare this to I wasn't there for 13 Fanboy or Reunion
Mhm.
from Hell. I was a backer, uh,
Mhm.
a co-producer on 13 Fanboy, I think associate producer on Reunion from Hell.
Mhm.
I like the end product of both, but
Mhm.
I gotta say, Reunion from Hell quite impressed me considering it was Hayden Newman's first movie. I actually was pretty impressed with how that turned out,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
I'm actually looking forward to seeing Reunion from Hell too, which I don't have my name on. I'm kind of
Mhm.
piecing everything together here, trying to get my finances and stuff all together. So not getting involved with these, but talk
Yeah.
about Camp Pleasant Lake in comparison to being on set for Reunion from Hell and 13 Fanboy.
So on the set of Reunion from Hell, so let me go back a little bit. So Camp Pleasant Lake, when we, when director Tom Walton um, and the crew went ahead and assembled us to go out uh, to act in California, it was very well organized. It was very properly done.
Mhm.
You know, we did our travel arrangements ahead of time. We knew where we were going to go ahead and stay. We knew that that basically we had to be on the set at a certain time, and that everyone was going to be there, and that we were going to start on time, that it was going to be long hours. And for both the day shoots and the night shoots, everything went, you know, without a hitch. Everything went down perfectly, and really, my hats off to the whole crew on Camp Pleasant Lake. You know, director Tom Walton did a great job with how he went ahead and assembled everything. So he's he's going to be doing a lot of great things. I'll tell you that. So um, now, in comparison to Camp Pleasant Lake, uh, when I went to Kentucky, because it was in Louisville, Kentucky, that I went to do my scene in camp in excuse me, in Reunion from Hell. My role was that of Inspector Shivers. Uh, so I didn't really require lodging because it was uh, a 1 day thing, and I drove down from Chicago to Louisville, which was a long drive. Got there extremely tired, slept probably like about, I want to say maybe if 2 hours, 2.5 hours was too much. So when I got up, I knew I had to be on the set at a certain time. And Hayden Newman is an up and coming director. I'm not going to go ahead and put Hayden down. I think Hayden is wonderful. The only thing
Hayden's got
that,
a lot of talent.
yeah,
Hayden
yeah,
surprised me.
yeah,
I'll say that. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I love Hayden for the work that that Hayden does, and I love Hayden for how she um, carries herself. Now, the only thing I didn't like was that I didn't know what time I was supposed to be on set. And so it was already 6:30 in the morning. So I didn't get the directions on time. Um, I didn't get, the information on time in regards to what time I was supposed to be on the set. But it went, we did my role as Inspector Shivers. It was good. I liked it. I had fun. It's a quick role. And in, I want to say I was there for like about 2 hours.
Okay.
And then I went back home. I came back home, drove back to Chicago from Louisville. So that was a good, it wasn't a bad experience. Um, the camaraderie was good. A lot of the actors already knew each other, and a lot of the like makeup artists, they already knew each other. So, I can't say that, that I was going to go ahead and be like, oh, how you doing? Let's go ahead and do this, no, but it was fun. It was fun. Now, 13 Fanboy. 13 Fanboy, I flew out from Chicago to El Paso, Texas, to be in 13 Fanboy. my role was that of Jason Gennario, a photographer in the movie. And when I flew out to uh, to uh, to do my scene, landed in El Paso. I joined up with one of the actors, Darren Barcombe,
Okay.
who drove to El Paso. I'm sorry, who drove to Ruidoso, New Mexico.
Okay.
So the lodging situation, you know, horrible, terrible, terrible, terrible. We stayed at a flea bag motel, basically. You know, I mean, where, how can I put this? And I don't want to sound mean, but no, I'm not going to say it. But, but you know, like the worst of the worst wouldn't want to go ahead and stay at that place. And so the directions to the site where we were going to go ahead and do the filming,
Mm-hmm.
we didn't get until the next day. I mean, we had to go ahead and send various texts asking where it was. Then when we got the text, it was to the wrong location. So on the way to the wrong location, we got the address to the right direction. You know, eventually we got there. You know, Darren and myself, and you know, it just pissed me off is the words I want to go ahead and use, because nothing was communicated to us, and then a lot of the camaraderie, there was to me there was really no camaraderie. I mean, I you know, became acquaintances, I want to say, with quite a few people. You know, I did meet some great people. You know, I met Ron Sloan. He's a great guy. You know, and unfortunately, I didn't meet. I met Hayden Greenbauer, and she's a nice girl. You know, I met Deborah. She was pleasant. So, but you know, I just felt that if you wanted me to be there to go ahead and do something, you should have given us the right address and the right directions, you know. And I'm not laying blame on anyone, but basically someone does have to take the blame for it, you know. And I got negative backlash from someone because because I because I spoke out, you know. Well, I mean, if you know, if I don't speak out, you know, if you're trying to go ahead and shut me down because I'm trying to go ahead and say, hey, you know what? You communicated to this group where you guys were staying, but didn't invite me and the other cast member to stay at the same place. Well, what does that go ahead and show? You know, I mean, it's like, are you playing favorites? Are you trying to, you know, just you know, piss me off, or what are you trying to do? You know, and so the thing is that, you know, because I spoke out, I got backlash, and some people who were in the movie, they kind of like they started shunning me, and that's the experience that I had with 13 Fanboy. Do I think it's a good movie? Yeah, it's a good movie, but next time that a movie is being done, treat everyone as equals and don't play favorites. And that's all I had to say.
here's my thing. Um, I would have liked to have seen the movie on the big screen. I know I have mentioned that I was going to be in Toronto at the time, which would have been a good place to play it.
Mhm.
And although there are some people from that film that will deny this, that's okay.
Mhm.
I mentioned our Cineplex here,
Mhm.
and I know I've mentioned it to two or three of the producers, and I've had Joel Paul Rising on here. I've had Riley C. Morris on here. I've had Jason Bradford, and I have Debbie Sue Voorhees. Um, I've never had any clashes with Morris or Rising at all. Uh, in fact, Joel in particular has been just great. But nonetheless, I remember I saw that on YouTube stream. I guess Debbie Sue said it wasn't supposed to be on YouTube. Well,
Mhm.
I should not have watched it because, I'll be quite frank, I'm one of these people. When you see something on the big screen, it's a different experience. I'll give you an example.
Mhm.
When I was in Toronto for Horrorama in 2019,
Mhm.
um, there was a screening going on at the Review Theater of Friday the 13th, Part 6, Jason Lives.
Okay.
I didn't see that in 1986 when it came out, but it was going to be screening at this theater, and Blood Opera was going to be performing at it, which made it extra good.
Okay.
But I decided to go see this in Toronto, and I went, and I've seen Jason Lives many times on home video. I
Mhm.
got the box set over there.
Yeah.
But seeing it with an audience, interacting with it, and
Mhm.
believe me, Jason Lives is the one you want to see with an audience because
Mhm.
of all the stuff that Tom McLaughlin puts in there, referencing this, and all the humor and the quotable lines. You know,
Mhm.
um, watching Jason Lives with an audience was like
Mhm.
seeing it for the first time.
Mhm.
It
Mhm.
was awesome to see it that way.
Mhm.
And what's funny is that I don't have that experience with 13 Fanboy. And I'm going to be honest, the only reason I saw it streaming, and again, I regret doing it,
Mhm.
is because, well, when Halloween was a Halloween Kill, yeah, Halloween Kills came out,
Mhm.
and everybody and their dog. I don't get this. I don't do spoilers on movies that were made 50 years ago
Mhm.
when I interview somebody. I just don't do that. But it's like people are so obsessed online with being with views, hits, and likes. I like to have views, I like to have hits, and I like to have likes.
Right.
But you don't want to be the one that hogs up the line at the food line at the food cafeteria. You want to let everybody else get in there as well.
Mhm.
A lot of people, when it come to Halloween Kills, couldn't wait to get it. Was by that weekend. It came out on a Thursday. By that weekend, spoiler alerts or people
Mhm.
doing spoilers because they couldn't wait. We have to have people like, share, blah 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 blah.
Mhm. Yeah.
It's selfish. And when Halloween Kills came out, I ran into that. Well, so I thought, well, I invested 3K in 13 Fanboy. So I was like, I really should be seeing this in a movie theater,
Right.
you know.
Yeah.
But I get a choice. I remember I made this decision while I was at work one night.
Mhm.
I was like, I could not see it and then hear all the spoilers, or I can just chance it and see it streaming,
Mhm.
and at least to get the gist of it.
Mhm.
So I watched it on YouTube. They had it on there. I think it was 6.99 or something like that. And
Yeah.
I'd never done that before, and I haven't done it since. But
Yeah. Well, I got to see the movie in theater
you
when it
were the
came out.
lucky ones.
Yeah. And it was good. It was you are right. It was worth seeing 13 Fanboy in on the big screen, you know. Not only because I had a very small part in it, you know. I mean, I'm not saying that I'm a Hollywood actor, you know, or anything like that, you know, but just to go ahead and make my face and my name noticeable out on the big screen, that was a big plus for me, you know. I'm not looking for fame, I'm not looking for fortune, I'm not looking for people to go ahead and kiss my ass because, you know, because I was in a movie. No. I mean, I did it because this was something that I've always wanted to go ahead and do. And unfortunately, I never got the chance to do it. And now that, you know, I'm in my early 50s.
Oh, same here.
I yeah, I got to do it. So it was fun. It was, you know, just, you know, there were some hiccups that unfortunately I didn't care for, you know, and I do have the DVD. I have been showing it to my friends, you know, and they're like, you know, they like how I did my part in the movie. That's you know, that's always a plus to hear good criticism, you know. Going back, you know, when I was in Camp Pleasant Lake, I remember doing a scene, and Michael Pare, you know, he comes up to me, he goes, let me tell you something. He goes, you did a fucking excellent job on that scene.
Oh,
For him to
nice.
go ahead and say that to me, that made me feel so good. Because this guy, he was in movies like Streets of Fire. I think he was in Hope Floats with Sandra Bullock, you know, and he's been
Yeah, I
in
didn't like Hope
many movies.
Floats, but Streets of
The
Fire,
what?
sure.
What did you say?
I thought Hope Floats was shit. But I mean,
See,
Streets of Fire, yes.
yeah, see, and so, you know, for him to come and say that to me, you know, that was that it, I don't want to say boosted my ego, but it made me feel good that someone who has been in Hollywood for many years has, you know, came up to me and said, you know, and said what he thought of my scene. Um, I didn't get that with 13 Fanboy. I didn't get that with Reunion from Hell, you know. But it's not what I'm looking for. You know, it's not necessary. But, you know, if you're going to go ahead and raise other people here and then keep select people here, that's just not right. You know, go ahead and try to, you know, equal it out. You know, uh, there was, you know, for example, Christopher Norris, who you know, he was, you know, because he got a broomstick shoved up his, you know, shoved up his skull. You
Gotta
know,
admit, what a great scene.
it was a good scene,
Yeah.
you know, but you know, don't go around telling people, "Oh, I'm an actor." Oh, you know, it's like you got a broomstick, you know, shoved up your skull. That's your whole thing. Oh wait, is it because you were dancing?
Dancing to Victim
You
too,
know,
but first
you
Jason,
know,
which was
you know,
yeah.
sweeping while he's dancing. It's like who gives a shit, you know? I mean, but
Can I
yeah.
add something in here? I had Christopher Norris on here a couple times, and I found it funny because I was much more like I thought his kill scene in 13 Fanboy was great. I'll
Mhm,
say that. And I thought it was very comical. He was doing the dancing and stuff, but I'm much more fascinated by the fact that he doubled for Harrison Ford in
mhm,
Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. And I was quite astonished to find out that in my last interview with Debbie Sue Voorhees, she didn't even know that.
mhm,
And I was quite surprised she did. I don't know whether it was just him or what, that she didn't get to know her crew.
mhm.
But I mean, that's kind of important because Harrison Ford is who? Oh, yeah, one of the biggest movie stars in the last 50 years.
Right. You know, and but you know, you know, am I looking forward to doing, you know, another movie? Sure. You know, only thing is that don't go ahead and try to blacklist me with these with these other names, you know, because that's what's happened, you know. A lot of you know, like while some of you have, you know, like Adrian King or who else can I mention? Judy Aronson. I don't have them. Why? Because I've been blacklisted basically by someone, and I know who she is, you know. And it's like, you know, if you're going to talk about peace and love and loving each other and being there for one another, don't be a hypocrite and go ahead and talk about people behind their back,
I've heard that spiel.
kind of like they did with you, you
Yeah,
know, because um, there was a chat going around, you know, um, after you were blocked, of course, by someone who will remain nameless. Um, you know, they wanted to go ahead and do what are these non-disclosure agreements? And unfortunately, I didn't. Well, fortunately, I didn't sign it. I didn't sign my non-disclosure agreement, even though I was asked to go ahead and sign it and send it. I didn't do it, but I was part of this chat, you know, and it was around the time you were promoting the uh, the Miss Doubtfire Suicide Awareness Challenge, and which I think is a great cause. You know, people all over the world, you know, they're unfortunately taking their lives for one reason or another. Veterans here in the United States who have served their country, you know, every 22 minutes a veteran kills himself, you know, or herself. And that's very unfortunate because they did go ahead and serve in the United States military, and they probably served, but you know, due to circumstances that they've seen somewhere around the world, it just traumatizes them to the extent where unfortunately they can't handle it anymore, and so they look at suicide as the quickest way out of their problems, you know. But you know, you doing the Miss Doubtfire Suicide Awareness Challenge, that I have to commend you, Greg, because that's very important. It's a very noble and honorable thing that you are doing. And so in this chat, you were being ridiculed by a lot of people. You
I
know,
didn't know this either.
right? You didn't know it until surprise. I was the one who told you, not Amy Crabtree, not
Not
Carrie.
Carrie Yates, who got blamed for it.
Yeah. So I was the one who told you. So, you know, but these people got blocked, you know, and a lot of stuff was said about them, you know, afterwards, which shows, you know, you don't really know someone until their true colors come out. You know, why did I tell you? Because you're, like I said, you were doing something that's honorable. You were doing something that's good. You know, you're doing something to help people. And for someone to go ahead and, pardon my French, shit on you because of you wanting them to go ahead and do this suicide challenge, that's really crappy on their part, you know. And I mean, I know that. Uh, let's put it like this: people that you have on your Facebook page, that you know from 13 Fanboy, you know, some of them, not all of them, some of them were the ones that shit on you, you know, and that's just not right. If you call yourself a friend, be a true friend. Don't go ahead and be a backstabber, you know. And you know, I decided to go ahead and take the screenshots, and I sent them to you. So, after all this time, I'm the one that told you. And I'm not afraid to go ahead and, and if they want to go ahead and block me, uh, they're more than welcome to. I did nothing wrong. What I think I did was tell the truth and be honest. You know, if you can't tell the truth, it's better to go ahead and, zip your lips and not say anything at all.
Yeah,
You
they
know,
didn't want me to see that.
yeah.
um, Here's the thing, and this is where I was naive. When the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge happened, I
Mhm,
was naive to the fact that this was just a trending thing.
mhm,
A lot of people, including myself, including 13 fanboy people, didn't even know what ALS was. You know,
mhm.
I just lost my dad in April to ALS, so I'm
Sorry.
well aware what it is now. He
Right.
battled it for 8 years,
Mhm,
and people dumped ice water over their head for ALS, and it was trending. I didn't see that. I saw this as people, including big name celebrities, getting together for a cause, and I was like, wow. I didn't see the trending thing. I was blind to that.
yeah.
But so when that one took after that one simmered down, we unfortunately lost Robin Williams
Mhm,
to suicide and depression.
right.
And I think he was battling some other things as well.
Mhm,
But I'm on antidepressants and I've dealt with it. Um, and it's like this was something a little more personal to me. So when I didn't start the Doubtfire Face Challenge, I don't know who started it, but I took it and ran with it, because
mhm,
I loved Nickelodeon and stuff like that growing up, the old Pie in the Face.
yeah.
And I think that's a lot more fun to watch than ice water over the head. But,
Mhm,
and I have a few good takers on it.
mhm,
My friend, actress friend Lisa Langlois did it. Nancy McLaughlin from Jason Lives did it in front of props from the movie.
mhm,
Wrestler James Ellsworth did it. And speaking of wrestler, Roddy Piper's daughter, Teal Piper, Ariel
mhm.
Teal Piper did it.
Okay.
Sandy Johnson did a hilarious one with her husband dressed up as Michael Myers.
Hmm,
You know, she
mhm,
did it. And, you know, even on 13th Fanboy, like I remember Troy Elkin, even at the time, Jason Bradford, you know, did it and threw it out to people. And Ron Sloan was kind enough to do one. And Lar Park Lincoln did one. And by the way, when my dad passed away, where I was blocked, I really can't really shame much 13 fanboy, but I didn't hear from a lot of people from it. I did hear from you. I heard from Troy Elke,
right.
and I may be missing some names. I definitely heard from Carrie Yates. And but one of the people I heard from was Lar Park Lincoln, and she's hit or miss on Facebook to contact.
Right.
I was touched when she messaged me because she
Mhm,
said she lost her parents young,
mhm,
and I got a nice message from her. But I'm going to tell you, I here's the thing: when I was young, I experienced the whole thing of not fitting in, not belonging, and once you're out of school, I've been out of school for nearly 40 years, and it's like actually I should say nearly 30 years, excuse me.
mhm,
30 plus years. But it's like I got to experience that whole feeling again.
mhm,
Now, I thought it would be a great idea to get people from 13 Fanboy in on this because when Sandy Johnson did it after the pandemic started, she reposted her Doubtfire challenge to cheer
mhm,
people up. and the response was 100% positive. People loved it.
Mm.
People don't want to see me do this. I mean, I've done it. They
Mm.
want to see people in the industry do it.
Right.
But because I'm not famous enough, I got shit on by a lot of these people.
Yeah.
Or as one person put it, that was goofy.
Yeah,
Uh,
and unfortunately, you shouldn't have to deal with something like that, Greg. I
and I
mean,
remember Jason Bradford told me, he goes, here's an idea. Get people at the end of all your interviews to do a talk thing about suicide and depression. I'm like, yeah, it's fucking lazy. No.
right.
Especially since not one of them would be sincere about it.
Hmm.
You know?
Right.
Yep.
I mean, I just really think that that it was very shitty and very unfair to you that you're, going out of your way for a noble cause like suicide prevention. I mean, if that's the case, I mean, how do they react to people who are talking about, children, starving of hunger, or animal abuse or anything like that? Just because you say, oh, we should love each other, and we should have tolerance for one another. And if you go ahead and just say it, but you're going to go ahead and basically put someone down, um, behind the curtains, then you're just full of shit. You just, you're not being your true self, because um, how many people millions of people have committed suicide, unfortunately. And it's because of the negative attitude that people have, like the ones that spoke about you behind your back. And that's why I felt the need to go ahead and um, give those screenshots to you.
I'm
So
glad you
like I
did it
said,
because
it wasn't Amy Crabtree, it wasn't Carrie Yates, so
Rob
it wasn't
Mahoney.
me. So if whoever wants to go ahead and block me from the people who did 13 Fanboy, you're more than welcome to. But I I wasn't wrong in giving you the information. I mean, it's like I consider you a friend, and you've been an honest friend. Unlike the creative director, the self-imposed creative director of 13 Fanboy. That's Jason Bradford, right? And I mean, in when we were doing Terror Express together, I mean, he just had a problem with you. I mean, he spoke ill of you, saying that you basically stalked Judy Aronson, and saying that there was a number that came up as, I forgot the name, something
Brad Fanjoy.
something Fanjoy. I mean, it's like, and then, when I told him I wanted to have you on the show, because I told him that you had gotten Sandy Johnson from Halloween and Eileen Dietz from The Exorcist to be on the Terror Express for me. He just went berserk. He was like, well, no, I don't want them on the show. I was like, why not? He goes, because I don't want this to become the Greg Gilbert show. I was like, it's not going to be the Greg Gilbert show. I go, it's our show, and he's just lending us a hand. It's like, I go, if it's like if someone else lent you a hand to get a guest on the show. He goes, well, I wouldn't do that. I would never do that. Well, I guess, talk is cheap, and unfortunately, he couldn't put his money where his mouth was, because then one night he has Vanessa Ianta Wright as a guest host along with himself and myself, And then he also has what's his name? Oh, I forgot his name. But he had someone else in the background with him. Um, and so he basically took it upon himself to go ahead and kick me off of Terror Express, which was my idea. And he's running around saying that it was his idea. So he changed the name to the Terror Express. Well, I guess the Terror Express is not doing very well because it only has 104 subscribers. I already checked on YouTube. So probably 105, but you know, I do go ahead and look for the facts before I go ahead and speak. And so now what does he do? He has Vanessa on to write, get him guests on the show, something that he didn't want you to do when I was on the show with him together. So really, oh, and it all, and he said that he didn't want me on the show due to creative differences. And it was because I told him if he didn't want you on the show, that I didn't want Christopher Norris on the show either. Now he has not only Vanessa Antarite, he has Jimmy Presley, he has Troy Oalki, he has Kenneth Casper, he has Christopher Norris. It's like, really? To go ahead and and he's like, oh well, he goes, I was going to ask you to co-host for this whole month with me, but you know what? Never mind. I was like, that's fine. I was like, but when I go ahead and put my truth out there, be prepared for the consequences. Because the thing is that you like to go ahead and talk a lot of shit, Jason, but you can't back it up. He's like, well, I'm going to go ahead and tell people about you and your personal life. I'm like, go ahead and tell people. He goes, well, I'm going to go ahead and call the government and tell them. I'm like, go ahead and call the government. I don't give a crap. The government knows who I am. They're not going to go ahead and listen to a nobody like you. So that's the last conversation I had with him. I mean, he wants to go ahead and try to be head honcho of every little thing, but unfortunately his books or his scripts, bitch and son of a bitch, and the other one called Lavinia, no one's picking them up. Why? Because you have no talent.
I gotta admit, the title "bitch" I thought was hilarious. I gotta say, there's a bit creative genius on that title. Um, Son of a
Well,
bitch.
do you know
Okay.
that
I don't
there is
know the other one though.
do
Huh?
you know that there is a trailer out there for a movie called Bitch, and you can see it,
Okay.
and it has nothing to do with has nothing to do with his script. Trust me.
I
It
don't know.
it it is about werewolves, by the way. So kind of like makes me think, did he plagiarize someone else's idea? Because now there's a trailer for a movie called Bitch, and you were writing a script regarding the same thing. It's like, I don't know.
I don't.
Sounds
Well, if
sounds
it
kind of
was
cookie to me
coming
too.
out, how would he know?
Well, I mean, you can, I mean,
I wouldn't know. Like,
social media. That's why social media is out there. It's like anyone can go ahead and take away people's work. Look what he did with me with Terror Express.
mhm.
So if he did that, why not a script?
Here's what I'm gonna say. I remember I had a confrontation with Rob Mahoney for a while,
Mhm.
and I remember Rob Mahoney because he's one of the people that 13 Fanboy has dumped on.
Mhm.
And Rob is like anybody. He wants to do his thing and wants to get recognized for it. But
Mm,
I remember where Rob, there was a post he put where he was, I don't even think I had him on my friends list. It was in one of the horror film pages, and I'm
mm,
not on any of them anymore. But I saw a post he put where he was having some medical issues and was in the hospital. I
mm,
reached out to him in a private message, and we ended up mending fences. And I'm going to tell you, it meant something to him that I reached out to him,
mm,
and we managed to reconcile.
mm,
And Tommy Kovac, the host of Splat from the Past, was somebody I was at odds with for a long time.
mm.
And he and I ended up mending fences.
Yeah,
And
I
Tommy and
noticed.
I
Yeah.
sing guests back and forth to each other.
Right,
You know,
right.
I found here's the thing with 13 Fanboy. You reached out to me. You said that it wasn't Jason Bradford. You reached out to me and asked if you mentioned that Terror Express was starting out, and you asked if I would help you get some guests.
Right,
I knew Jason Bradford was a part of it. I could have said no.
right,
I mean, he's an asshole. I don't want any part of him, but I didn't do that.
right.
I because well, this was after you sent me the screenshots. I said,
Hmm.
sure, I will help you out, even despite him being part of it.
Right.
So, and I didn't send you guys bad guests. I reached out to Sandy Johnson, who was Judith Myers in Halloween. I
Right.
reached out to Aileen Dietz, who was Pazuzu in The Exorcist,
Hmm.
and I connected them. Now, I think that's a good thing. And what did Jason Bradford do? Refuse that.
Hmm.
I tried to mend some fences here, and he refuses to accept that. So it
Yep.
doesn't matter. It's just like when Joe Paul Rising and I had a phone conversation about this whole screenshot thing.
Hmm.
And Joe Paul Rising is on the goods with me. He likes me. But
Hmm.
Joel put a post on the Debbie Sue Shearer horror page. I don't know if it's still up there now, but it he put a post on there about having a, and I knew because he read to me what he put, because he did it while he was on the phone with me.
Hmm.
He put a post on there saying that he had spoke to me and that there's an understanding and let things be.
Hmm.
Well, Troyelke and Bobby Heckman both saw the post,
Hmm.
and they by the next day it wasn't even up there half a day and it was gone.
Yeah, I saw that post too.
It was gone. Now I don't know who took it down, and if it was Jason Bradford, here's all I got to say to him. Joe Paul Rising put that up there. I don't owe him an explanation, you
Hmm.
know,
Hmm.
but
Yep.
they're refusing to make any kind of amends with me. Here's another thing I'm going to say. When Debbie Sue Voorhees and I first spoke about this, um, she sent me a message, and I thought we were going to have a conversation about it. I was at work at the time. I work at the hospital. At the time, I was working another cleaning job, but I work at the hospital.
Hmm.
I work in housekeeping. So my job's demanding. So I responded to her with a thumbs up on Messenger.
Hmm.
A thumbs up is a positive thing, but she chose to take it as a negative, I guess.
Hmm.
And that was when things went all online. She blocked me and this and that. And that went astray. So when things went sour with the whole screenshot thing, first thing I went to Rob Mahoney because I knew Rob Mahoney would stand up for me. She
Hmm.
went to a bunch of people.
Hmm.
Why should not? So because Carrie Yates and Amy Crabtree responded to the YouTube video, apparently they went after her, went after them. By the
Hmm.
way, Carrie Yates got accused. of sending me the screenshots. Carrie Yates did not. Carrie Yates is very much into what her family is doing. I think she's got, if I remember correctly, autistic children.
Mm.
So Carrie Yates a kind soul, but it was like a big witch hunt. And the whole thing with Judy Aronson, let's talk about that for a minute. That pisses me off. Accusing somebody of stalking without evidence is slander.
Right.
Here's something else. Here's two things that they like to avoid. Scotty McCoy nominated Debbie Voorhees for the Doubtfire Face Challenge. Not
Mm-hmm.
me. Not me. Scotty did. And Scotty will admit that too. It's in the video he did. Number two, and this is something else they like to avoid. It's never been mentioned on their end. Ted White, God rest his soul, we recently lost, who was Jason in Friday the 13th, the final chapter.
Mm-hmm.
I've interviewed him twice. In the 2016 interview I did with him, the first one, he offered the contact info on Kane Hodder and Judy Aronson.
Mm-hmm.
And he didn't do it right there on the air. He sent me an email. He gave me their contact info. He told me to use his name. And so here's how that went down. I contacted Kane Hodder. Actually, that was 2016. I got this info. I didn't call them for a long time because I felt nervous about it. 2019, 3 years later, I had interviewed Dick Miller, who was Mr. Futterman in Gremlins. He was in a ton of Roger Corman movies. He was in
Right.
every Joe Dante movie. I had Dick Miller on my show 5 months before he passed away. And here's the thing about that. I didn't even have him on my radar to interview. I just noticed he was doing a lot of the cons, and I didn't even know if he'd do my show. So when I got a response, I was shocked. And when I had him on, it was amazing. And he passed away. When he passed away, I was like, wow, I'm glad I took the chance.
Mm-hmm.
And that was when it hit me. I had Kane Hodder's number and Judy Aronson's number. Maybe I should give them a call. Now, Judy Aronson, I messaged on Facebook about this back in 2016. With the Ted White interview, I put down there, and I even posted where in the interview this was brought up. Her little icon read the message, never got back to me.
Mm.
I did that a couple times. She read the message, never got back to me. Okay. Ted spoke very highly of her.
Mm.
Okay. After Dick Miller passes away, I gave Judy a call. I called the number.
Mm.
A woman answers. I remember I was at the station at the time. It was one night I was at the station and I did it because she'd be 4 hours behind me. I know she lives in California. She's 4 hours behind me.
Mm.
But nonetheless, a woman answered claiming I had the wrong number. Okay, maybe I dialed wrong. I didn't call right back right away.
Mm.
I contacted Ted White the next day, and Ted White told me that that's the number. And I said to Ted, I said, do you think maybe I might creeped her out? And he said she would never do that. Like he spoke up for her and said that she would never do that. He said she would love to do your show.
Mm.
Okay. I didn't call for a long time. I did reach out to Kane Hodder. I got Kane Hodder's answering machine. I left a message telling him who I was, what I do, how I got his info. I mentioned Ted White. I never heard back from Kane.
Mm.
It's interesting. Kane's a bigger star than Judy Aronson,
Mm-hmm.
and yet I'm not going through this hoopla with him. And I've never contacted Kane again.
Right.
I have no issue of meeting him. I haven't met him, but I have no issue with Kane.
Mm,
Judy, I called again when we were getting into 13 Fanboy. This time, the person answered the phone claiming to be her cousin.
mm,
That I'm like, okay, something's weird. That was
mhm,
the last time I called. Not now. It's been reported to me that I called her 22 times. I don't even think Judy even said that
mm,
because any normal, intelligent woman, if you get maybe after two times, at three times the most, they're going to call the cops.
mhm.
I never had the cops called on me because I didn't call 22 times.
Right.
Now, what Debbie Sue needs to realize is that stuff that's being said to me might not even be stuff she even said, but there are people out there that love the drama and love to shit the stir
Mhm.
who
Yeah,
will say shit like this.
I really don't blame Deborah Voorhees for any of the uh, negative things that have occurred between her and I, or her and yourself. It's there's people who love to stir the pot by
Yep.
being shit starters, and unfortunately, in 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 that in that group, that I thought, um, we were all going to be close. Uh, Unfortunately, it didn't turn out that way because some people want to be more important than others just because they knew or they spoken with Deborah Voorhees. And again, I really don't blame Deborah Voorhees. You know, um, I mean, I don't blame Deborah Voorhees or Ron Sloan
Oh,
or
Ron was great.
Ron has always been a friend. He's always there,
Ron
very
cut
supportive and everything.
Ron
But
cut
there's
me off
others.
after this, but Ron has still communicated with me. I think Ron just wants us to pass,
Mhm.
you know.
Yeah,
And I want it to pass,
yeah.
but
So,
I'll say this, I've never been to the States.
mhm,
Never been to the States. I didn't stop.
mhm,
By the way, when I interview, I've had Debbie Suvorhees on the show 5 times.
mhm,
It was that third interview I mentioned this, and this is where things between her and I got weird. I
mhm,
mentioned this whole thing, and she told me to lose the numbers, and it was the way she said it,
mhm,
and things just never were the same. By the way, I don't have their numbers anymore.
mhm.
I don't have their numbers. But I'll tell you one thing, it was Scotty McCoy that suggested I go after people on Cameo over the Doubtfire Challenge.
Mhm, mhm.
And I went after a few people.
Yeah,
Um, and one of them was Judy. I figured with me putting 3K into that movie, I figured a cause like this would be a shoe in, would be something really nice. But
yeah.
and
It,
Judy
it,
responded and said that she was jealous that Ron Sloan had done it, and that was somebody that I think Troy Elke had nominated. But
and and that's part of that was one of the things that was brought up in that chat that I took a screenshot of, that they mentioned. um he's always saying that he gave $3,000 towards the movie. Well, that doesn't that they were like, what the fuck does that matter? It's like, so what? So he gave $3,000. So now you're supposed to kiss his ass? It's like, if someone doesn't want to go ahead and do um, a stupid challenge regarding suicide prevention, then they shouldn't have to go ahead and do it. You weren't doing anything forcing people. You were asking them if they would go ahead and do it. If they said no, then I'm sure that you would have said, okay, that's it, dropped it. But
I've had a few people say no, and I dropped it.
right.
Problem with Judy Aronson, I mentioned it to her on Cameo, like Scotty suggested, and I mentioned that I was a co-producer on 13 Fanboy.
Mhm.
And I don't know whether you saw the video, but she was very positive. Of course, it was during COVID. She couldn't do it then. That
Mhm.
is understandable, but she promised she'd do it. So the following year, Scotty had told me that there was reduction on cameo stuff. So I thought, I'm going to pitch this out to a few more people. And I just kind of went back to Judy and I followed up. Now she's all against it and blah, blah, blah. Said the same thing that somebody else had said, oh, it feels like it's making fun of it. Well,
Mhm.
how? Okay, well, tell me, how was dumping ice water over your head helping ALS? Before those assholes respond to that, that was a disease that killed my father. And by
Right.
the way, uh, Jimmy Presley had told me that Jason Bradford sends his condolences over my dad dying. Number one, Jimmy Presley, it's not your place to be telling me on behalf of Jason. If he doesn't have the ability to grow a pair and tell me himself, then don't do it.
Mhm.
But I'll tell you one thing. Um, Dumping ice water over your head is it was a lot more dangerous for
Mhm.
one thing. I mean, I watched Stephanie McMahon have two MMA, whatever the fuck they call it, fighters dump a big bucket of it over her head, and those ice cubes were bouncing off her back. You
Mhm.
know, you don't want to do the doubt for a pie challenge. Don't do it. But
Mhm.
don't fucking tell me yes and then turn around and shit disturb. And here's another thing. I always gave to the cause of their choice
Right.
for a doubt for a challenge. When Lisa Langwa did it, I gave to the Single Moms Planet. That was
Mhm.
her charity. When Nancy
Mhm.
McLaughlin did it, I gave to a homeless shelter of her choice. When Sandy Johnson did it, I gave to Tunnels for Towers for first responders for 9/11. I did that. Why? It's my way of giving back. I've had a few people fuck me over on that, where I would give to their charity and not get the challenge. It's a
Mhm.
pie in the face. It cost you what? Under $5.
Mhm.
But no. And part of the thing is, and this I'm going to say this, I'm even about 13 Fanboy. I'm not deemed important enough. I'm not famous enough, but you got a lot of people there who think they're bigger than they are. And this whole Brad Fanjoy thing, I'm sorry, but if I was going to make up a fake email or fake this and that for my phone, number one, Jason Bradford would not be the name I would think of. I'm sorry,
Right.
he's not that important.
Right.
And I got two emails, one for Anaconda and one for Python. What do they have in common that Jason Bradford hasn't figured out?
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm afraid that him or a 13 Fanboy aren't part of that. So I don't know where that came from.
It's
And
crazy.
like I said, my brother, who's my manager, looked into it, and so did Scotty McCoy. There was, by the way, if they want to go ahead with it, I can present my phone records.
Right.
I have no problem doing that.
Yep.
Problem is, they know this.
Do you do you still have the screenshots that I sent you?
Yep.
Good.
Oh, I definitely still have them. You know,
Hmm.
I didn't post them online or anything, but I have them. But I'll tell you, hindsight's 2020. I think Debbie Sue. Here's how I feel with her right now. I think she regrets handling it the way she did. She hasn't told me that, but I get that in her the way her my any interactions I've had through 13 Fanboy merch coming to me. By the
Hmm.
way, I am wearing the t-shirt.
Hmm.
I got the other one that's got Tom Matthews on it, who
Hmm.
unfortunately ended up having to be away from the project, but nonetheless, I don't hate Debbie Sue Voorhees. She went out to try to do a movie. I think that as a director, I think she did a great job with this movie.
Mhm.
You know, I love that opening. It was a creepy opening with Spring Schultz. I liked Christopher Norris had the best death scene, but I think Spring had a really good one too. You know, with the pitchfork and
Mhm. Mhm.
um, I thought Debbie Sue did a great job with this movie,
Yeah.
but
I
there's
mean,
some plot holes. I'm going to give Jason Bradford a little bit of a benefit here because I've seen photos of him online in the security outfit. Is
mhm.
there something that was shot that's missing? Because here's the thing. You see a shot of him and by the surveillance camera with a knife in his head.
Mhm.
Here's what I think they should have done.
Mhm.
They should have had, because this was right around the Tracy Savage stuff,
Mhm.
they should have done like situation where Tracy Savage was checking, she hears something, checking around on something. Maybe, there's a shot of Christopher Norris down the hall doing his whatever, and maybe she thinks she heard that, and then she turns maybe like one of those Charles Cypher's Laurie Strode moments in Halloween where she turns and runs into Jason Bradford, and he's like, oh, I'm sorry, blah blah blah, and
Mhm.
and just doing my rounds, didn't mean to scare you or whatever, and she goes in the classroom and maybe Jason Bradford comes back to the surveillance and maybe he sees something or thinks he sees something and
Mhm.
look closer and maybe does another brief, you don't want to overlong it, walk around, maybe even have a comic moment with Christopher Norris saying, hey, pay attention to what you're doing, and he just ignores it,
Right.
puts the headphones back on, and then goes back to surveillance, maybe looks, feels satisfied, leans back, then the knife in his head. I would have done something like that with Jason
Mhm.
Bradford, and to be frank, I think he would have been fine at it because I've seen Jason Bradford act,
Right.
done some screen stuff for me before when we got along, and he was very good at it.
Mhm.
But that's what I would have done. There's also seems to be some plot holes regarding Lar Park Lincoln. Was her character killed off? What happened there? Um, there's a little bit of Silence of the Lambs stuff there that I liked with
Mhm.
Lar. What about between Tracy Savage being dragged off and where we see her on the surveillance camera later? What
Right.
happened in between there? There seems to be some gaps.
Yeah.
And again, but I'm going to say there's some stuff I loved. I love the fact, number one, it was nice to see Kane Hodder get a little emotional scene with
Right.
Jennifer Bonko. But I love the fact that it wasn't Kane Hodder that ended up having the big showdown with the fanboy.
Yeah.
I love that it was CJ Graham,
Mhm.
you know, because, it would have been so easy and expected to have Kane Hodder.
Yeah.
I love that it was CJ Graham. And I love the line, you want a shot at the champ,
Right.
you know. I'm not going to get into spoilers there, but at some point in the movie, yeah, there's a fight and it was well placed. Dee Wallace wasn't part of the franchise. She wasn't, actually, I've forgotten she was in Rob Zombie's Halloween, to be frank. When I
Mhm.
think of Dee Wallace, I think of E.T., I think of The Howling, I think of Cujo, but
Right.
nonetheless, okay. Um, but she was great in it. Ron Sloan, how cool was it to see him play a role like this?
Mhm.
Never, never would have expected it. I think it was ingenious of Debbie Sue to get Ron Sloan to play against Junior. Like he was playing something totally different. I love it when actors play something I haven't seen them do, you know.
Yeah.
Haley Greenbauer, I liked in it, but I gotta say, another thing that was brought up, it was mentioned that I was rude to the leading lady.
Mm.
I'm going to clear that up here right now too. Jason Bradford, during one of our interviews, had said, and I'm not faulting Jason here either. He told a funny thing that happened on 13 Fanboy, where he was asked to go, I think, get some wine or something for an after party or something.
Yeah.
And he had said, and he was joking. He was joking. He said, was Haley Greenbauer too much of a diva to ask me herself? And he said that Haley came out to the door and was flicking her hair, diva style, and said, to get wine or whatever it is he had to get. Haley Greenbauer wasn't drunk. She wasn't really being a diva. But when I had Haley Greenbauer on, I ribbed her about it.
Mm.
And I thought it was being taken as a rib. Now I'm being told I was rude to the leading lady. I think number one, A, they know I wasn't, and B, this is just another thing to fucking incriminate me
Mm.
because they never appreciated me to begin with.
Right.
I was somebody who wasn't high up in the hierarchy,
Mm.
asking about suicide depression challenge. Another thing I gotta say, it's been brought up that because of, quote, my actions, a screening of 13 Fanboy in Blairstown, New Jersey got canceled. Okay, and by the way, I've heard this from, was it Jason Bradford? Was Christopher Norris might have mentioned it? And Vincent DeSante even fell for this shit because I heard from him on it. And it's caused dissension between he and me. Although like I said, my brother, my manager, had a little online session with Vincent DeSante and shut that down quickly. Here's the thing. I got an email and I'm more than happy I got saved. I'll present it to anybody. Debbie Sue told me nothing was canceled because of me. Now, either A, she had spread the rumor and is backtracking because she's caught, or B, somebody else was spreading that rumor and she was shutting it down.
Mm.
I don't know. I'm not saying Debbie Sue spread it, but I am saying she sent me an email denouncing that anything was canceled because of me or my actions, as it was put.
Mm.
But I like how people went for it. You saw the photo, the article I sent you. I don't
Yeah.
know who sent it to me, whether it was Scotty or who it was that sent it to me. I don't know who it was. Maybe, I don't know, but I sent you an article of a screening in Blairstown, New Jersey.
Yeah.
And you got people like Christopher Norris and Vincent DeSante sitting there proud as pig and shit. And I'm
Yeah.
sitting there thinking, is this a screening that supposedly got canceled because of my actions? I'm sorry. I'm being demonized because of what? I never went to the States. I never went to New Jersey. Debbie Sue wasn't threatened. 13 Fanboy wasn't threatened. Judy Aronson wasn't threatened. And by the way, Debbie Sue blocked me on social media. After this all took place, I looked up Judy Aronson. We were never friends on Facebook. She hasn't blocked me. She hasn't blocked me on anything. I don't follow her on them. I don't care, but I did check. If she's so fucking scared of me as a stalker, I hasn't blocked me.
Mm.
So this has all gone way out of hand.
Yeah.
I wish it didn't. I appreciate the fact that you sent me those screenshots because
Mm.
had you not, I would have been dealing with a bunch of fucking phony people.
Yeah.
But I I feel bad it happened. I will defend myself to the very end on that. And if
Yeah.
these people don't want to talk, I mean, Jason Bradford said this would affect people, celebrities coming on my show.
Mm.
I think you're number 156 or 57 this year. My record is 144.
Right.
You know,
Meanwhile, on the Terra Express, he only has 104 subscribers, and he has his friends telling him, "Oh, great job, great reviews." You know, it's like, go, get a real review from someone from someone who does not know you. And let's see what they go ahead
well,
and think. I've been to this podcast.
you
This is my second time here. I've been to the Hamityville Horror Podcast. You guys
went to
are
Scotty's.
podcasts, huh?
You went on Scotty's podcast, Slasher Scotty.
Yeah, I've been on Slasher Scotty's podcast once. But yeah, you know, those are real podcasts. A podcast where you go and ask people, "What's the color of terror?" It's like, what does terror have to do with color? You know, I mean, it's like, and then it's like Jason Bradford has people um, talk about supernatural experiences that they've had. Really? It's like that's how you're trying to captivate an audience by, oh well, the closet door opened by itself. And did you just hear did you just hear something? You know, oh, oh, oh. It's like, come on, don't make up shit. You know, anyway, um, it,
I haven't listened to Terror Express. When this whole thing went down, I just stepped away from Jason Bradford and all that. I'm not going to badmouth the show because I haven't heard it. I
well,
know that through you've said that he had said that my interviews are too long. Well,
yeah, yeah,
here's the thing.
so
I would not have had another shot at Dick Miller
I
after.
mean, he supposedly it's on other streaming platforms like Apple and iTunes um and Roku or whatever it is, and on YouTube, et cetera, et cetera. But it's like, whatever. Anyways, moving on.
Yeah, yeah. But no, I let my guests talk. I let them do the interview. So, but nonetheless, I mean, I got nothing against this podcast. I haven't heard it.
Mhm.
I don't
Oh,
have a huge amount of subscribers either when it comes right down to it. But
right.
for me, it's never been about that.
Hmm.
I'm happy to be doing it. I
Hmm.
have a job, so I mean,
Right,
it's like I got commitments outside of this. I don't get paid to do this. So,
right.
but I'll say one thing though. I am getting a passport done. So I'll be doing some cons with Lisa when the time comes. Or if I get the time off. But
Yeah.
I'll tell you one thing, I have never and will never stalk Judy Aronson. If she's at a con that I'm at, then that's purely coincidental. But I'm certainly not going to go to a con just because she's there. I think you know, but I feel bad. I feel bad that she was not the person that Ted White and also Vernon Wells described so nicely to me. And by the way, I've met Vernon.
Mm,
Met Vernon at Horrorama, and he's been on here twice, and he's involved in Social Distance, which I'm a co-producer on.
mm,
So, you know, I feel bad that I didn't get to know the good person that they described, and instead, you know, And Debbie Sue has said, you gotta go through agents, gotta go through agents. I don't think she goes through agents to talk to Ron Sloan. I don't
Mm,
think she goes through agents to talk to Tracy Savage or Judy Aronson.
mhm,
She may have at the start, but I don't think she does now. I'm not going through an agent to talk to Lisa or Lisa Langlois or Nancy McLaughlin. I
mhm,
talk to them regularly. I'm not going through an agent. If somebody gives me a number, I take it on good faith
mhm,
that there's a connection. I had somebody, it was Anthony, or excuse me, not Anthony, DeCiprio. I'm messing up his first name. Gave me the phone number for the wrestler, Larry Zavisco.
mhm,
And this was after this whole debacle with Debbie Sue. I called Larry. Larry answered.
mhm.
I told Larry who I was, how I got his info. Guess what? I had an interview with Larry Zavisco,
Nice.
you know? So
Mhm.
if somebody gives me a number, I take it on good faith.
Right. Right.
And this is not Ted White's fault either, by the way.
Right.
You know,
Mhm.
it just unraveled that way.
But yeah.
I feel bad it happened.
Yeah.
Now, I'm going to tell you one thing I was going to do that would have been in bad taste. I was so pissed off about this situation. I was actually going to do a T-shirt up with the this Debbie Sue didn't like this, but a T-shirt up with the screenshots on it, and I was going to have 13 reasons Debbie Sue hates my guts.
Mhm.
Another T-shirt I was going to do was I am Judy Aronson's stalker T-shirt, but I felt that would have been in very poor taste. And as far as Judy Aronson goes, I've heard she had a stalker in the past, and I think me doing that would be rubbing salt in the wound.
Mhm.
And so I'm not going to do that. But I'll just leave it at this. It's sad that I didn't get to talk to the person that Ted White and even Vernon Wells described so nicely to me.
Mhm.
I didn't get to know that person. I didn't get to know that person. But like I said, if I had stalked Judy Anderson, prove it.
Right.
Prove it. That's why I say the 13th Amendment. Prove it. If I was outside her house, I've heard that too, that I was outside her house. Really? I can certainly prove I wasn't. I can prove that I didn't call her 22 times.
It's ridiculous.
There's a lot of the stuff I can prove,
Yeah.
but I think they know that. I think there's people that like to stir drama, and I'm not even
Mhm.
saying it's Debbie Sue. I
Right.
certainly know a few people from that movie that I think would shit stir.
Yeah.
I
I
won't
agree.
name names here, but
I agree.
yeah.
So,
But I do
uh,
appreciate the fact that you sent me the screenshots because I remember here's another thing. You didn't reach out to me on that. Let's see, mention how this got started. I called you because you had a death in your family.
yes.
And I just wanted to call you and give my condolences. I
Right.
think you thought I was calling over the situation online.
Mhm.
So I remember you saying,
Yeah.
"Did you not hear? Did you not hear?" I had no idea.
Right.
You had somebody in your family that passed away. I called
Mhm.
over that. That was
Right.
when you brought this whole thing up. I had no idea.
Right.
But I want to thank you for at least for for being a friend and sending that to me and letting me know who my true friends are.
You're welcome.
And I'll say this: Rob Mahoney, Amy Crabtree, and especially Carrie Yates. They're good people. I'm going to say that right now because I know I think Rob Mahoney took just as much a hit on this as I did, but Rob speaks his mind, and I don't always disagree with him on that. So there you go. As far as well, either way, there was a lot of people that stood by me. Bobby Heckman didn't disassociate with me on when over this news on 13 Fanboy.
Hmm.
Neither did Adam Marcus. And by the way, Deborah Sullivan came back on my show even after the fact. She doesn't think I'm a stalker. And I can tell you this, I've had Tom Matthews on here 3 times. He knows Judy Aronson personally. And he come I videoed him twice at 2 recent cons. He knows I'm not a stalker. In fact, he thought it was kind of funny. So it's kind of soured me to support these movies and this. So
Right.
you know, but I
Yeah.
am whenever I get my new laptop set up. I'd love to have you and some of the people from Camp Pleasant Lake on and
Yeah, definitely.
yeah,
And I've already spoken with them, and they are more than willing to go ahead and be on the show. So they're just waiting for the green light.
yeah. But do you have anything else you want to promote on here?
So just you know, only thing I can really say is just keep watching Python's Paradise, with Greg Gilbert, and look for Camp Pleasant Lake in 2023. The trailer, you can find it on YouTube. And that's the first trailer. There will be a second trailer. And the poster that's coming out, there is already one poster that's out. The second poster will have my name in the credits as well. And I will be in the opening credits as well as the closing credits of the movie. So, but yeah, Camp Pleasant Lake, 2023. Look for it. You won't be disappointed.
There you go. And on a final note on other stuff, I want to just on my end say my apologies for the 13 Fanboy debacle. I don't know if I should be apologizing, but I'm going to anyway. If in any way, I don't think I wronged Judy Aronson, but I am going to say this. I'm going to issue an apology here if I rubbed Judy Aronson the wrong way,
Mm,
but she has no reason to be threatened by me.
right.
I offer my apologies even to Debbie Sue Voorhees that things went so astray between she and I. But I'll say one thing: I think she's got talent behind the camera, and I hope she keeps honing her craft.
Right.
And my apologies to anybody. Like a lot of people cut me off. I didn't even say anything about Dave Miller, and I don't know. He cut me off, and but as far as Jason Bradford goes, I mean, sorry, man. I think Jason Bradford's a talent. I really do. And with titles like Bitch for a werewolf movie, I think it's hilarious. But I sorry things ended the way they did. That's all I can say. But I want to thank you for having my back.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
And it's probably not going to make a difference as far as I'm go, whether you admit to sending me the screenshots or not.
It's not
Probably still going to think I'm the shit. So yeah, can't win.
right.
But I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. And onward 2023.
There you go.
Yeah. And yeah, we'll work something out for Camp Pleasant Lake and do some promotional stuff on that.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Look forward to it. And thank you for having me on the show again.
Well, thank you. Thank you for being a genuine person, Orlando. I
Thank you.
really appreciate it. I love it when I call you and your message thing, you say it in English and then you say it in
Spanish.
Spanish. I don't even know French. It amazes me people that know more than one language.
Yeah. So I say I have it in Spanish also. Kind of,
Like
but that's okay.
I think it's amazing. I once saw the wrestler Tito Santana do a promo where he did it in English and he did it in Spanish, and I'm like,
Mhm.
that's a talent I don't have.
Okay. Yeah.
Well,
So
anyway, God bless you, man.
God bless
Thank
you
you
too.
so much, and keep in touch. I
Thank you.
appreciate it.
I will definitely.
Absolutely. God bless you. Take care.